Welcome to the daily news analysis session of Narayana IS Academy. Today we have picked up 4 articles from The Hindu and Indian Express, which we are going to deal with in a comprehensive manner. And these articles are very relevant for your examination. Now, before we proceed, a motivational quote for all of you, because most of you feel demotivated, especially when the exam is not so near. We have 3-4 months to prepare. So, you are a fighter. Look at everything you have overcome. Don't give up now. Now, simply what this quote is trying to say, that what you have thought when you started preparing, bring that thought again in your mind, that you are a fighter. You can fight. That fighting spirit should remain with you. Do not give up even if there are challenges. Okay, so with this quote, let's move ahead. Now, a key notification. If you go for the Narayana IS application, the Google Play Store application, in that you can find 110 days self-study plan. So we have made a plan wherein you can prepare for this examination in the right manner. You can track your preparation in the right manner, and all your resources will be covered in this particular timeline. So you can download this application wherein you will get the access to this plan. Okay. Then apart from that, our 1 year as well as 2 year courses are active. You can take admission into it. Those who are targeting for the year 2026, they can opt for 1 year prelims cum mains course, and those who are going to attempt in 2027, they can opt for 2 year prelims cum mains course. The details of the course is given here on the screen, where it includes 800 plus hours of general studies and CSAT classes, 200 hours of current affairs lectures. All the other details are also mentioned. For example, you will be having tests, although weekly, fortnightly. You will be solving prelims and mains questions, almost 4,000, 5,000 questions. So all this mechanism is part of this course. Okay. Now moving ahead with the articles of the day. So I've chosen 4 articles. First article mentioned on page number 9 of The Hindu. It talks about sovereign foundational AI model. Now there is a debate going on whether India should make its own sovereign foundational artificial intelligence model, just like USA has built or just like China has built. So this debate is going on. So we'll understand that debate in detail. We'll understand what do we mean by foundational AI model, to be very specific. Then the second article, this is about India's thermal power emissions. So we all know that in India, we generate electricity, but most of our electricity comes from thermal power stations. And from these thermal power stations, there is hell lot of emissions taking place, whether it is carbon dioxide emission or any other emitting gases which are coming out. So we'll understand that part. Then the next article is related to marine heat waves. This is from Indian Express. So because of climate change, marine heat waves are getting intensified. They are increasing, their frequency is increasing, and their intensity is also increasing. We'll understand that part over here. And the fourth article is related to Chabahar port, which is in Iran. So India had earlier got some waiver from US government, but now we are not going to get this waiver. US is cancelling that waiver. So we'll understand why it is important for India. Okay, so with this, let's start with the first article of the day, that is, should India build a sovereign foundational AI model? Now you should know all these things. What do we mean by foundational model and all? And what is India's policy with respect to artificial intelligence? That you need to understand. Now this topic is important for prelims as well as mains GS paper 3 science and tech. Also it can be a part of your GS paper 2 governance. Okay, you can look at this previous year question. The emergence of the fourth industrial revolution, that is digital revolution, has initiated e-governance as an integral part of government. Discuss. Now, when you're talking about this fourth industrial revolution, you can't talk about it without discussing artificial intelligence. Okay, so you can understand the relevance and importance of this particular article. Now, what is the news? What is the context? So, there is a debate going on whether India should develop its own foundational AI model. And this debate is going on since last 2 years. If we go back in the year 2023, when Sam Altman, who is the CEO of OpenAI, OpenAI is the same company who's providing us ChatGPT. So he visited India and made some comments. He said that India doesn't have enough resources, and to build a foundational AI model like the ChatGPT, you need to put lot of resources, lot of money has to be invested, and that India cannot do. We are way ahead of you. Now, from that time onwards, this debate is continuously going on. And recently, when we saw even China came up with its own DeepSeek, similar to OpenAI's ChatGPT, DeepSeek AI model. So we started talking about it again. So the debate is going on. Now, first of all, what do we mean by foundational AI model? So let's understand the basic part. I hope you understand artificial intelligence at least. Firstly, we humans have intelligence. We can take decisions, we can solve problems, we collect the data, whatever information we are getting, we process that information, we use our reasoning. So all this is done by humans, and this is what we call as intelligence or natural intelligence in humans. And this is why we are different from animals, because we have that intelligence. Now we want to develop intelligence which is artificial one, wherein computers can do the same work which we were doing, rather better than humans. So we are building artificial intelligence. Now in this, we are talking about some models which we call as foundational AI models. So this is kind of a model, or what we can say in simple terms is a software or an application which is having capability of solving many equations and processing lots of data in one go. So here we are not saying, just like if you look at a human being in his lifetime, he might read 100, 200, 300, 500 books. But to this AI model, you can give 1000, 5000, 10,000, or even 1 lakh books, entire data of 1 lakh books in one go, and that model will process all that information. So here we are saying this AI foundational model is a large scale machine learning system. Machine learning, artificial intelligence, whenever we talk about it, we use this term machine learning, wherein machine can learn just like humans learn. We make errors, we learn from our mistakes. Similarly, this artificial intelligence model learns from its mistakes too, and it self learns. So here it will be processing data, and that processing of data will continue, and here the data will be of a very large quantity. And this data is not like only text data, it's not like only books we are providing in PDF formats. There will be some what we call images. You can see over here, there will be text, there will be images, there will be coding which is done by the developers, there will be speech, that means you can give audio files also, and there will be different responses which will come, and we can give those responses as input to this artificial intelligence model. So overall, in simple terms, if I have to say, this chat GPT or this DeepSeek R1 are the examples of a foundational AI model. They are a model in themselves. They can run on their own, and you can solve any of your equation, you can give any input and get the output from these AI models. Okay, so to briefly tell you the key features of this foundational AI model. One is it is going to use lot of data. So first of all, you have to train this model with massive data. You have to give it lot of information first before it starts working for you. And even providing this training through data is a very costly affair. Then they have transformer architecture. Now, just like in human beings, we have neural networks using which, neural networks are connected to our brain, using which whatever we are thinking, that is coming to our nerves. All this mechanism is taking place in our body. When we are even thinking, We say that we can connect things, we can connect the dots. So similarly, all these things will be done over here in this transformer architecture. Then there is multi-model capabilities. That means it's not like just one kind of a file can be provided, but audio, video, code, speech, anything will be part of it. And there will be self-learning. Okay. All this is part of a foundational AI model. Okay. Now I said ChatGPT is an example of it. Now, when we use the term sovereign foundational AI model, then we are bringing sovereign into it. We use the sovereign term in our constitutional or polity aspect, that anything or any entity who will not be dictated any terms. Rather, it's an independent authority on its own. We call them sovereign. Let's say India is a sovereign country. So nobody can dictate terms to us. Nobody can dictate us anything. We are sovereign. We make our own laws. We are our own authority. We are the supreme authority. So here, when we are bringing the sovereign term over here, we are saying that a foundational AI model which will be developed, processed, operated, and completely controlled by a particular country. And in this case, we are talking about India. So we don't want to rely on ChatGPT or DeepSeek of China. We want our own foundational AI model, and the control of this AI model will remain with India or the government of India. Such an AI model will be called as sovereign foundational AI model in case we develop. Okay. Now, the question that arises first is, why do we even need this sovereign AI model? What is the importance of it or significance? First thing is national security and data sovereignty. Now, when you are using ChatGPT, when you are using DeepSeek, you are giving your information, your access of your information to another country. You don't have complete access over all this GPT and whatever data is which is being processed over here. Many times we'll be putting our personal data also. So there is a chance that there can be some kind of foreign surveillance. There is a possibility, or our data can be stolen very easily because we don't have control over it. And many times, because of geopolitical tensions between two countries, let's say between India and China, these models can be utilized. These models can be utilized against each other as a warfare technique many a times. So we are saying we want to protect ourselves. National security is highly important and data is very important. So data becomes important for national security. Then we don't want to depend on US or Chinese model. Now we might say today we are in conflict with China. We are not in conflict with USA a lot, but we don't want to be dependent on USA also. What will happen when you are dependent on a particular country? There is a possibility of a sanction in future. So in case you are going against the policies of USA might say we are putting some sanctions on you. There is a possibility. And if you want that there should not be any kind of sanction on us, the best way is remain independent. So if we rely on the AI models of US or even China, that is not good for us. We don't want these sanctions. Okay. Then there is angle of local languages. Now, as far as India is concerned, we have so many languages. We have 22 official languages and more than 1,600 dialects. Now, although the ChatGPT or DeepSeek, they're providing information even in the regional languages, but the kind of depth that is required, the linguistic depth that is there in the languages, that will not come so easily with the foreign models. We have to develop our own model if we want that our AI models should be supporting local languages and should have some cultural essence in it. Okay. Then there is angle of economy and strategic competitiveness. See, whoever controls artificial intelligence now will have control over the entire world, because AI is the most emerging segment, and and it is going to change the entire world. Now, as far as economic aspect is concerned, if we look at Indian economy to be very specific, then by 2030, it is expected that artificial intelligence will add $500 billion to India's economy. And we have another data from NASSCOM's report, which says by 2040, total 1 trillion US dollar will be added just because of artificial intelligence. So you can understand, as far as the economic aspect is concerned, this artificial intelligence is going to remain very important. And if India can develop its own foundational AI model, then we will have a strategic advantage and we'll be in a very competitive position. Okay. Now, these are some of the examples just to showcase that, for example, USA has OpenAI Chat GPT, then Google has Gemini, Meta Llama 2, China has DeepSeek, Baidu, Ernie, Europe has Mistral AI, Aleph Alpha, etc. So all these countries are already in competition for us. They're already working on their models. And it is an opportunity for India to think about developing such models. Now, if we see the current artificial intelligence landscape with respect to India, so we have some good things with us which can help us develop such architecture or such model. For example, we have very strong software engineering talent. We have so many software developers living in India, and they can be very much important for the research part of this artificial intelligence or the training part of AI modules. They will be very much helpful. Then nowadays we are observing many startups are coming into picture, AI startups which are growing nowadays. For example, we have this AI for Bharat, Sarvam AI, Xtape, etc. All these are new startups coming into picture who are working in the field of AI. That will be helpful for us. Then if you look at government policy too, government is also pushing so that we can come up with some significant achievements in the artificial intelligence. So we have this India AI mission launched by Government of India, then Digital India Act. Then government is also saying we are going to set up semiconductor fabrication units in India. Semiconductor fabrication means you are manufacturing those semiconductor chips, and it's a very advanced thing. It's not that easy to develop or manufacture these semiconductor chips. So we are now building this. It's going to be very costly too. This shows government is also interested in building this AI ecosystem in India, so we can think about developing AI foundational model. Now there are some arguments which support this idea. There are some arguments which are against it. Those who support, they said that digital sovereignty is very important. We don't want to rely on US or Chinese model. National security is important, and that's why we want to protect ourselves. So we should certainly develop it. Then as far as the language part is concerned, the local languages, cultural part is concerned, for that also we should have our own AI model. And the economic aspect when we consider, then also we say that we should develop it. But there are some dimensions which make it difficult for us to think about it. For example, this project is going to be a very costly thing. When we say that we are developing our own foundational AI model, you have to train this model with massive data, and this is going to be very, very costly. For example, if you talk about GPT and all, there you will be spending somewhere around billions of dollars, and thousands of GPU are required. GPU is graphical processing unit. So just like CPU for computers we have, so here we have these GPUs, and we need thousands of GPUs to process that data. Your normal computer cannot process it. So for that also you require money. Okay. Second, global open source model which are existing already. For example, if we talk about Chinese DeepSeek, it is an open source model. Open source means it is freely available to you on the internet. You can use it. You don't need to pay any money for it. So here what some scholars are saying, instead of putting our resources on building a foundational AI model from scratch, Let's use it. We have open source model available, so let's use it. That's the most smart way we can say, wherein we can go ahead with it. Then third part, wherein we talk about the infrastructure and hardware part. So when we look at those semiconductor chips which are anyway required to develop this entire model, we are very much dependent on other countries for this chip manufacturing or semiconductor manufacturing. And here many countries are way ahead of us. For example, if we take the example of Taiwan, they have this company called TSMC, which is way ahead. Or if we talk about USA, this Nvidia company, they are also way ahead in this hardware part. So the point is, right now we are dependent on them. Unless we develop our own semiconductor chip manufacturing unit, we are atmanirbhar in it. Till the time, it is very difficult for us to think about developing a sovereign AI model. And then there are some regulatory and ethical challenges too. So in India, we still do not have any robust framework wherein we can say that artificial intelligence is regulated in India. It's not yet there. So there will be many challenges on these aspects. Now, if you look at the government's policy, what all government is doing in this segment. So we have India AI mission, which is launched by Government of India. Now under this mission, government is saying we are going to subsidize GPU clusters for AI research. So we require those GPUs, and it's going to be costly obviously. So government will provide some subsidy, some amount of funding will be done from government side, wherein you can buy these GPUs. Then some kind of support will be provided to the startups also. So any AI startup will get some funding from government, will get maybe some kind of tax benefit, and any academic institution which will be working in this AI segment will also get some support from government under this India AI mission. Then we have National AI Strategy by Niti Aayog. Now this is a very important strategy wherein Niti Aayog is saying we are going to encourage artificial intelligence, innovation and entrepreneurship in India. And the plan of Niti Aayog is such that they want to utilize artificial intelligence in almost every sector in India. For example, in governance, in healthcare, in education, almost everywhere. Okay. Now, as far as this semiconductor manufacturing part is concerned, for that I already told you that Indian government is working on it. Indian government is already pushing so that we can build these chips in our country. So manufacturing or fabrication units are being set up. Now, what policy recommendations can be given for India's artificial intelligence growth overall? So first thing is we can focus on artificial intelligence innovation rather than focusing on sovereign model. Certainly we can think about building our sovereign model, nothing wrong in that. But our focus, major focus should be on innovation part. So if we support these AI startups and we allow them or we push them to bring in some innovation in specific domains. For example, in agriculture, let's say, you can build your own model. See, if we promote the innovation part, then the private sector will come up with its own models, with its own foundational models. We don't need sovereign model, rather allow private sector to make its own. So they will make their own models, that too very much domain specific. Let's say agriculture specific or healthcare specific models can be developed. So there is one GPT which is specific to healthcare. Such things can be developed. Then we can promote public-private partnership for AI-driven research and development. We all know that research and development gets very much less focus from government also and private sector also. So if we can combine the efforts, then we can go ahead in a good way. Then we have to strengthen our AI infrastructure. So already we have these missions, India AI mission, or we have the Niti Aayog strategy. All this can be utilized and we can increase the funding for these missions. Then develop AI talent and skill ecosystem. In India, we have one problem. We have so many graduates who lack skill set. So if we could provide them with some skill related to the artificial intelligence, then it will be really good for us. Then reducing hardware dependency, already we are working on it. We need further push. Government can further utilize this PLI scheme, production linked incentive scheme, related to this semiconductor manufacturing. What we can additionally do is we can work with those countries who are already doing good in this semiconductor manufacturing part. For example, Taiwan is doing good, Japan is doing good, USA is doing good. So we can do one thing, we can collaboratively go ahead with research and development of these chips. Then we can establish a strong AI governance framework. We said that regulation in India is not good as such, as far as AI is concerned. So we have to regulate it under this Digital India Act, and we have to set up AI ethics and oversight boards who can monitor the use of artificial intelligence. If someone is violating these codes, then there should be some penalty, and there should be this board who is checking almost everything. Okay. So this is all about this foundational AI model. Okay, let me check if we have any doubts till now. No doubts. Okay. So moving ahead, the second article of the day. So the second article is about India's thermal power emissions. Now you should know about thermal power plant in India and major pollutants that are getting emitted from it. And this topic is important for prelims as well as mains, more important specifically for prelims. Okay, you can read this previous year question, you'll get an idea about what kind of question is expected in the examination from the thermal power plants. Okay, please read. I'll give you 4-5 seconds. Now I hope you have read it. So the question is very simple. They have given 3 options and they are asking which of the above are the emissions from a coal combustion at thermal power plant. It's a very easy question and you will get the answer in this article itself. Okay, so let's start with our article. Now the article says, in India, we have thermal power plants, and these thermal power plants are struggling with one issue. That issue is we have some norms made by government. These norms are related to the emissions. Specifically, there are many emissions taking place, out of which they are specifically talking about sulfur dioxide, that is SO2. So there are some norms made by government with respect to sulfur dioxide emission from the thermal power plants of India. And these thermal power plants are still struggling to comply with these norms. They are saying, sir, please provide us with some deadline, or please extend our deadline for few more years. We are not in a position to comply with these norms or rules. So this is the news. Now, first of all, what do we mean by a thermal power station or thermal power plant? See, wherever we are generating electricity, that is a power plant for us. Now, there can be different kinds of power plants. Thermal power plant is one of them. Now, what we do in thermal power plant, to be very specific, we are making use of either coal or natural gas or oil. We are making use of such things and we are generating heat. Now that heat, when the heat gets generated, will have some water which will get boiled, the steam will be generated and the turbine will move and electricity will be generated. In simple words, if I have to say, first we are generating some heat. Let's say we are using coal. So from coal we will generate heat. We'll burn that coal, so heat will be obviously generated, and then we are going to use that thing to generate electricity. Same heat will be used to generate electricity. Clear? Now, as far as the developing countries are concerned, they are very much dependent on thermal power plants. You look at any developing country, they focus more on thermal power plants. Even India is the best case for this. Now, as far as India is concerned, India has thermal power plants, especially they are coal-based thermal power plants. So we are very much focusing on coal. And if you look at the data, somewhat 70% of India's electricity, 70% of India's electricity is coming from coal-based thermal power plants. So now you can understand the importance of coal-based thermal power plants for India. Now, for some examples of these thermal power plants are Singrauli Super Thermal Power Station in Uttar Pradesh, Mundra Thermal Power Station in Gujarat, Korba Super Thermal Power Station in Chhattisgarh, and there are many more. Okay. Now, from these thermal power stations, when you are burning coal, it's not that good thing also, because from coal, many pollutants will come out. Now, these pollutants include carbon dioxide, particulate matter like PM 2.5, PM 10, sulfur dioxide SO2, nitrogen oxide, mercury, fly ash, carbon monoxide, etc. Now, these are the major pollutants. There will be many other pollutants too, but these are the major ones. And we all know all these are not really good for us. For example, carbon dioxide, because the carbon dioxide is getting increased, its contribution is getting increased in our atmosphere. That's the reason we are saying the climate change is happening, the global warming is taking place. So it's not good. Then we have particulate matter PM 2.5, PM 10. Now this can cause respiratory diseases, some kind of diseases related to your lungs also. Then sulfur dioxide you have, this will lead to acid rain or secondary aerosol formation. Then we have nitrogen oxides, because of which smog is formed or ozone pollution takes place. Then you have mercury, or you have this fly ash, and even carbon monoxide. This carbon monoxide is also not good for your body. Now, overall, what I'm trying to say, you should remember, certainly remember these pollutants. If you go back to this previous year question also, you can easily solve this question. They have asked about these pollutants. Okay. Now what has happened? We already talked about these many pollutants. Now to be specific about one of the pollutant, that is sulfur dioxide. Okay, we have to think about this part because even the article is discussing about sulfur dioxide, to be specific. Now what has happened? In the year 2015, month December, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, they came up with some strict emission norms, and those were clearly provided for thermal power stations in India. Now it was expected that all the thermal power plants will comply to all these norms. Now what were these norms? Now some of them are this one. First is stricter limits on particulate matter emission. So whatever particulate matter is coming from this thermal power station, there will be a fixed limit. You cannot cross that particular limit. This has to be ensured by the thermal power station. Then this SO2, NO and mercury emission norms, these were also added in 2015. Then mandated adoption of flue gas desulfurization technology. Now this is very important. This technology is very important specifically to deal with the emission of SO2. Okay. Now first of all, please understand how much we are emitting these sulfur dioxide and how much other countries are emitting. You can see China, they have this SO2 emission standard of 35 to 50 in this range, and they are strictly enforcing it. European Union 20 to 200, they are strictly complying with it. USA 30 to 150, they are also strictly complying, strong penalties for violation. And if you look at India, our range is 100 to 200, but the enforcement is getting delayed again and again. So what is happening? Our thermal power stations are saying, sir, we are not in a position to do this right now. We are not even in a position to comply with these norms now. Please give us some more time. So here the core role lies when it comes to the emission standards related to SO2 and bringing in this flue gas desulfurization technology. The thermal power stations are saying we need some more time to adopt this flue gas desulfurization technology. Now, what is this technology? If we use this technology, we can directly remove sulfur dioxide from this coal-based thermal power plant. So, whenever emission is taking place, from that emission, SO2 will be completely removed if we use this particular technology. So, it's a good one. Now, this technology also includes two different things or two different types. One is called as wet wet flue gas desulfurization and other one is dry or semi-dry flue gas desulfurization. The difference lies in the efficiency of these units. For example, the wet FGD will have efficiency of somewhere around 95 to 99%, whereas the dry and semi-dry will have 80 to 82% somewhere around this. So overall point is this technology is important to remove SO2. But what is happening? The deadline is getting postponed again and again. So in 2015 we said that the rules came into picture. But initial deadline was adopted by December 2017. So 2 years were given. Later on from 2017 to 2023 multiple times extensions were given. If you see the December 2024 notification, another 3-year extension was provided until year 2027. So this is why we are saying this is a concerning thing, that we are just postponing it. Okay. Now, this was all about this article. So let's move ahead with the third article. Before that, let me check if we have any comments or any question. No question as such. So let's move ahead. The next article is related to marine heat waves. So heat waves that are taking place in the oceans or the marine biodiversity which is getting affected because of these heat waves. This is the dimension we are going to think about. So these heat waves are important, climate change is important for you. So this topic will be important for prelims as well as mains. Now please read this mains question asked in the year 2013. Okay, you'll get a brief idea about the broader theme UPSC is focusing on. Please read, I'll give you 10 seconds to read it. Now, if you have read the question, it is talking about, first of all, heat islands, and then it's talking about temperature inversion. Now, if you look at heat island or heat island effect, it is also related to climate change. So, anything related to climate change will be focused on. Climate change is a very important issue which needs to be discussed, as well as some kind of actions are required with respect to climate change. So, UPSC will also focus on climate change aspect. Now, what is happening in recent times? So, first of all, these marine heat waves, these are coming up again and again. Their frequency has increased. Earlier, if 2 or 3 marine heat waves used to come, now 15, 20 are coming. Now, this is frequency part. There is second thing, that is intensity. Earlier, their intensity was this much. Now, they are more intense. They are more deadly. So we are saying marine heat waves, their numbers have also increased, their intensity has also increased. Recently we saw in Western Australia, so almost 30,000 fishes died because of this marine heat wave. And we are saying the frequency is increasing. So such incidents are going to happen again and again, that too in a more deadly way. So first of all, what is marine heat wave? So whenever The sea surface temperature, you look at any sea, and if you look at the surface area of the sea, and if you see, check the temperature of it. If that temperature increases by 3 degree to 4 degree above the normal or average range, so the average temperature is this much. If 3 to 4 degrees is increased, and this increase is for at least 5 days, maximum could be anything. If it is there for 5 days, we will call it a heat wave, and rather we are calling it marine heat wave because it is related to the seas and oceans. Now, they can last for few weeks, let's say 2-3 weeks. They can last for few months, 2-3 months, or even for years. That means the temperature will remain increased for even entire year. This is also possible. And if you see the data given by National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, they are saying since 1982, these marine heat waves have got doubled in entire world because of global warming. So they are saying there is a role of climate change, there is a role of global warming, because of which this frequency of these marine heat waves has got increased. Now, what they have specifically said in the study is this climate crisis plays a key role. How it plays a key role? If you look at oceans, they play an important role in absorbing temperature. See, 90% of the extra global heat, whatever extra global heat is there, excess heat is there, that will be absorbed by the oceans. Now, because oceans are absorbing that heat, the temperature of oceans is getting increased. So here you can see the data that already if you compare the data of 1850 and the present data, you will see that there is an increase in the sea surface temperature, and this rise is somewhere around 0.9 degrees Celsius. Now with 0.9 degrees Celsius, if you can see so many marine heat waves taking place, can you imagine what will happen when this will be 1.5 degrees Celsius increase, or let's say 2 degrees Celsius increase? So the writers are saying if 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature is increased, in that case, these marine heat waves, their frequency will increase by 16 times, and if you increase it by 2 degree, then it will be 23 times more marine heat waves. So can you imagine what kind of deadly situation we will have in our seas or oceans? The marine biodiversity, can we protect them? That's a question. So what will be the impact of all this? First of all, the entire marine ecosystem that will be disrupted. See, there will be some species in this marine ecosystem which might feel good because of additional heat, but majority will not feel good. So what we'll observe is that there will be an imbalance in the ecosystem. See, every species makes some contribution in this entire ecosystem. When some are getting benefited, some are at the lower end, then there will be an imbalance. Some of them will be pushed to migrate from their region to other region because that region has got more temperature, so they will go to some other region. In the migration, whether they will survive or not, that is also a question. Then as far as this marine ecosystem is concerned, we are concerned about those species, but we can think about humans also who are dependent on this marine biodiversity, because many fisheries are dependent on it. Now when the temperature will increase, the fishes will die. Our fisheries sector, our aquaculture sector will also get that heat, will also get some disadvantage, or rather our production will be reduced to a good extent. Then the entire biodiversity loss can also be there. For example, when you increase the temperature in the oceans or seas, there will be this coral bleaching, because of which the ecosystem or the biodiversity or the species which are very fragile, they might not survive. And overall, other ocean stressors will also get intensified. For example, this acidification of ocean which takes place, or deoxygenation which takes place, which is already taking place, but now because of all these things, this will further be intensified. So the point is, overall things will not be good for us. Now, one more thing that will happen is there will be some impact on the monsoons for India. So, if we look at the marine heat waves coming in the Indian Ocean region, there will be some impact on the monsoon. See, if you look at the Indian subcontinent, if you look at this region, so there is a possibility because of because of these heat waves, the southern part of our peninsula might get more rainfall, more intense rainfall than normal in the monsoon time period. But if you look at the central region, there we will find some deficit of rainfall. This will happen because of these marine heat waves. Also, there is a possibility that even the cyclones which we see, there will be some change in the pattern of cyclones or frequency or intensity of cyclones because of these marine heat waves. Okay, so this is the entire topic. Now, the last topic of the day, that is related to Chabahar port. This topic is important for you. You should know what is Chabahar port, where is it located. You should know about this INSTC project. This is important for prelims as well as mains, GS paper 2, international relations. Now, please read this particular question. I'll give you 5 to 10 seconds to read it. Done. So the question is simply asking, what is the importance of developing Chabahar port by India? Can you expect any question which is way simpler than this? Very easy question to attempt. Okay, now what's happening? United States has issued an order which is targeting Iran's Chabahar port, and India has already made some investments in the Chabahar port, and there is a possibility of sanctions even on India if India continues its involvement in this particular port. So there is a port which is there in Iran, name is Chabahar port. India is developing that port. India has made many investments over there. We have that involvement over there, and US is putting sanctions, or there is possibility of sanction if we continue our involvement. So this is why we are talking about. Now look at Chabahar port. I'll show you in the map directly. This is India, this is Pakistan, this is Iran. Now here we see Chabahar. So from Pakistan also it is quite near. So if you remember, China and Pakistan, they have this CPEC corridor which is being developed, and they have an important port over here in Pakistan called Gwadar. So very near to this Gwadar in Iran, we have developed, or we are developing, this Chabahar port. Okay, so location wise you should know where this Chabahar port is located. So this port is located southeastern at the southeastern coast of Iran, and it is near Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. So where is Persian Gulf? I'll show you. So this area is called as Persian Gulf. This is Gulf of Oman, and very near to these lies this Chabahar port. Okay. Now, why this port is important? Now, this is an important and critical hub for trade, specifically for trade. See how India looks at it. India wants that we should not remain dependent on one particular route for our trade, for our export, etc. So right now, let's say we are having one route which goes from Suez Canal and all. Now, if we want to have trade with the Central Asian countries, or let's say Russia, we want some route. We don't have a direct route available. From India, if you want to go, let's say, from India, if you want to go to Russia, you have to cross Pakistan, and Pakistan doesn't allow us to go. So we had a plan called INSTC corridor. INSTC corridor. Now this corridor can be seen like this. So from India you will reach to Iran, and from there you can move ahead with going with this route. Now the problem is that we want to access Iran first. From Iran, we'll reach out to other countries, and from those countries, we'll reach out to Russia or even the European part, etc. But the problem lies over here, wherein there is some tension going between Iran and USA, because of which USA is utilizing or using the policy of maximum pressure against Iran. Now, here, because we have good relations with USA, we have decent relations with Iran too. But when we are developing this particular Chabahar port, there the role of USA also matters to us. Now, if you see in the year 2016, there was an agreement signed between India, Iran, and even Afghanistan. Now, why Afghanistan? Because Iran has the border line with Afghanistan. And when we look at this particular port, Chabahar port, if we are exporting something from India to Chabahar port, that can easily reach to the Afghanistan region. So all three countries thought it is good for us. So in 2016, a tripartite agreement was signed, and the agreement says that India will be developing this Chabahar port. We have heavily invested on this Shahid Behesti terminal. So all these developments are going on. Okay, and this INSTC corridor is going to be very important. Now, as far as US sanctions are concerned, if you see the timeline, in the year 2015, there was an agreement signed called JCPOA, that is Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Now, this was signed between USA, Iran, and some European countries too. But later on, when Donald Trump came to power, he became president. He withdrew from this JCPOA. And after that, they started putting heavy pressure on Iran. At that time, India somehow negotiated with USA and asked for some waiver for developing this Chabahar port, and we got that waiver. We got that waiver. But now it doesn't seem that USA is interested in providing you any waiver as such. USA is saying you will also be sanctioned if you continue with this. So the diplomatic discussions are still going on. We'll see what happens with this in coming few days. We'll come to know about it. Okay, so this is all about this news. Now the time is for some practice questions to solve. We have mains practice question. Discuss the strategic, economic, and technological implications of India developing a sovereign foundational AI model. Should India invest in its own large scale AI system or leverage existing global models? Critically analyze. So, you can define first of all what is this sovereign foundational AI model in simple terms. You can give examples also over here directly. Then talk about the strategic implications. Okay, when we depend on US or Chinese model, there will be problem of national security, data breach, etc, etc. All this you can mention. Then you can mention economic implications. So AI is going to be very important for economy, so there is some potential over here. Then technological feasibility and the challenges part you can mention. And at last you can give some solution, you can give some optimistic solution, when you can say we can utilize this open source AI that is there, but we should also invest in the innovation part, etc. So all this can be mentioned in the answer. Now some questions which were part of DNA of yesterday, we'll just discuss them. So IMSC corridor, IMSC links Indian ports to Europe via UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel. The statement is right. IMEC project was announced during the BRICS summit in New Delhi. No, not BRICS summit, it was G20. France, Germany, Italy are among the European partners in the IMEC initiative. That's true. So 2 is wrong, 1 and 3, C is the right option. Easy elimination. Now next is, which among the following is not a nationally determined contribution of India under the Paris Agreement? See, you should seriously mug up these nationally determined contributions. Now here the answer would be reduce emission intensity by 45%. This is correct. Ensure 50% installed electricity capacity from non-fossil fuel. That is also correct. forest or tree covered to absorb 2.25 to 3 billion tons of CO2. That is also correct. But this one, achieve carbon neutrality by 2040. This is completely incorrect. It is not part of NDC. So they have asked about what is not. So the answer is D. Next question, which of the following is the main objective of Reserve Bank of India's Monetary Policy Committee? Simply to maintain inflation in a particular range. Simply ensuring that the prices remain stable in India. So if you see the options, to regulate stock market, no. To control government spending, no. To set the value of Indian rupee, no. To maintain price stability while supporting economic growth. Very easy question, I can say. B is the option. Now homework part for you. You can attempt these questions directly from the comment box. You will have a link. Click on the link, you will get to this question and just attempt it. First is, which of the following is not an impact of marine heat waves as described in the context of climate change? Disruption of marine ecosystem leading to biodiversity imbalance, shifting habitat ranges and altering predator-prey relationship, decrease in global sea surface temperature, economic consequences including financial losses for fisheries. Very easy question for you to attempt. Then Chabahar port is located on the southwestern coast of Iran near Persian Gulf, provides a direct sea route to Afghanistan bypassing Pakistan and is significant for India's geopolitical and economic interest. India, Iran, Afghanistan signed a trilateral agreement in 2016. So this is also very easy question. We've discussed all of that. And this is the last question related to this flue gas desulfurization. The question will remain on your screen. You can read this question. So this is your homework. Please attempt these questions through the link provided in the comment box. Okay, so this is how we have covered all the topics, all the important articles. We'll meet in the next session. Thank you so much for joining.